Hello, and welcome to Tech to Tech presented by KYZEN, where we will explore common cleaning questions and answers. Let's get started. I would like to introduce KYZEN's own Rich Burke.
William, thank you, and welcome everybody to today's Tech to Tech session. Today's session's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be talking about a cleaning chemistry. We're not going to be talking about let's say, the traditional cleaning process that we're accustomed to, or the rinsing process itself. But instead, we're going to talk about the importance of cleaning the cleaner itself. And in doing so, what we're really going to try to do is walk through, what are we talking about when we say cleaning the cleaner, how we do this, and does it or why it really matters. And I thought before I started going into the specifics behind the topic, it's important to relate this to things that we see and do in our own lives. So in our own homes, we have cleaning processes, and it's important that we do clean these cleaning processes, right? So we clean our showers, we clean and service our dishwashers, we clean and service our washing machines at home. So it's really no different. In this case, it's an industrial process, and but the methods and the reasons why we do and clean our cleaner is the same. The principles are the same. So with that said, the focal area here, again, will be cleaning the cleaner. We're talking about cleaning our batch machines, our inline cleaning systems, could apply to our stencil cleaners, in fact. But there are really going to be four focal areas for today's discussion. First, we'll touch upon descaling a system, or a process that would be utilized between running chemistry A to chemistry B. We'll talk about nozzles and manifolds, and we'll look at filters and strainers and catch screens, and how we inspect these, why we inspect these, where they're located within our systems. And then lastly, we'll touch upon the importance of general maintenance, and more particularly how and why the cleaning component to that, a cleaning process, is an important part of general maintenance within our systems. So let's talk for a minute about descaling process and chemistry change. We have scales that can build up within our system, and the scale can build up on our immersion heaters. Scale can build up within the system on our nozzles and manifolds, and as that scale builds up, it can affect both the cleaning performance of our wash and rinse manifolds and nozzles, but also in this case of an immersion heater, the efficiency of that immersion heater, that heating system. So it can make it such that the heating system can't get the temperature, or doesn't maintain temperature very well, or at the very least puts a stress or strain on that system such that the efficiency and the cost of operation for heating increases. So it's really important to inspect our systems from a scale standpoint, and as necessary, do a descaling operation. And if you're interested to learn the details behind the specifics behind a descaling process, please reach out to us. We can share that with you. But from a basic standpoint, what one would do would be first drain the wash tank, do a mechanical clean out of that wash tank, fill it with water, fill it with the descaling solution, run the descaling solution at the targeted concentration temperature for the amount of time as recommended by the supplier of that descaling solution. And then once that's completed, drain that, flush that system out, reintroduce the cleaning agent back into the system. And there are chemistries that can be used for in between chemistry changes from chemistry A to chemistry B. So again, processes and procedures that can be utilized for that step as well. So again, if you want to do those and you want the details behind them, reach out to us so we can share those processes and procedures with you. Nozzles and manifolds. So nozzles and manifolds, again, in our everyday lives, we might have sprinkler systems in our homes. We might have shower heads, or we do have shower heads within our homes. And obviously, if we have clogs within these systems, we don't have the shower we want, or we might have brown spots within our lawn. So that's not good, obviously. And the same thing would be true with our batch and our inline cleaning systems. We have many nozzles and manifolds, and it's important that we keep those nozzles and manifolds clean so that they function as they're intended to function, and we don't have misses or spots where we don't have adequate cleaning or rinsing within the system itself. So really, I would say follow the recommendations from our suppliers, but in essence, what we want to do is visual inspection. So, and that can involve, looking inside of the machine itself. As you can see in this lower picture here, it's highlighted in red. In this example, one's able to actually see a nozzle or manifold that's not spraying well because there's something clogging that nozzle or that manifold. In many cases, it's hard to do. The inline systems have a lot of spray and atomization, so it can be difficult to actually see that happening. And in terms of a batch system, in many cases, they don't have windows or viewing ports. So one thing that you can do in that case, if you're trying to do a visual inspection inside a machine, you could jog the machine on or off, or the pump on or off quickly, and look at it, and that can give you an indicator of a nozzle that's clogged or not. But in many cases, you want to remove the manifold itself, remove the nozzle, and actually clean the debris. And again, you're just seeing here some of these examples of nozzles that are being sprayed with varying degrees of debris or a clog. So that's very important. And after we've inspected our nozzles and go to reposition them within our manifolds, it's very important to ensure proper alignment of the nozzle within the manifold. Here's an example of fan jet type nozzles, and in these cases, you generally would see fan jet nozzles have an offset anywhere in the 5 to 15 degree range. And the reason for that is we want to make sure that we have full coverage and not interference coverage between nozzles themselves. But the important thing here is to, again, position the nozzles within the manifolds as they're intended from your supplier. Again, these are fan type nozzles. Here's a great picture what I'm talking about. So you can see very clearly that manifold's out of the machine. The nozzles, you can look at it, they all appear to be clean to us, and they're all positioned with a slight offset, not parallel to the flow of the nozzle manifold itself. So exactly what I'm talking about and how we would want those to be aligned. Here you can see some two different manifold sets. And in this case, these are coherent-jet nozzles. So they're let's say solid streams of water that come out of the manifold. In some cases, these can be just the manifolds themselves with a hole drilled within the manifold. In this case, these are manifolds with specific coherent-jet nozzles installed. The upper set of manifolds, or the upper manifold, I should say, highlighted in green, shows a proper positioning of the nozzles themselves, and you can see the holes are positioned parallel to the manifold. The lower manifold with an underlined red, you can see that in this case, the coherent-jet nozzles are really randomly placed within or positioned within the manifold, and that would cause inadequate coverage on that manifold. So again, it's very important that we position our nozzles once we've cleaned them. It's obviously step one is clean them, but step two is to make sure that we reinstall the manifolds or the nozzles into the manifolds as they're intended to be done. And the same thing is true with manifolds themselves. In some cases, the equipment have manifold alignment pins, which is the case here. So it makes it very easy to reinstall the manifold in the right orientation. In some cases, there are no alignment pins. In fact, in many cases, there are no alignment pins for repositioning of your spray manifold. So before you remove the manifolds, it's very important to make note of the position and alignment of that manifold so that when you go to reinstall it, you're reinstalling it as it was intended from the supplier or the manufacturer of your equipment. So talking about filters, strainers, and catch screens. Again, in our everyday lives, we have examples of this. We have filters for our heating systems or air conditioning systems. We have oil filters and air filters within our vehicles, and we can have water filters within our homes. So these are examples again of where and processes that we would do within our own lives, where we're inspecting and changing out filters and strainers and cartridges and so on. The purpose of these are to capture or catch unwanted dust particles, debris, um, from our systems, right? So in the case of an inline batch or a cleaning system, um, this will oftentimes be things like, for example, masking materials, tapes or peelable mask materials. Um, it can be solder paste, it can be components, it can be really anything that's not solubilized within either the wash chemistry or the rinse water itself. We want to make sure that we capture those particles before they get to downstream systems. So it's really a mechanism to protect our downstream components, and that can be our pumps, our blowers, electrical panels, ventilation system, for example. So, what I would say to this is follow the recommendation from our equipment suppliers in terms of the frequency and the processes and procedures for actually cleaning or replacing our filters and strainers and catch screens. Here are some examples of where we might find these within our system. So, for example, we might have a filter in our exhaust system. And if that filter were to become clogged, or as it becomes clogged, I should say, it creates a challenge for the exhaust system or ventilation system to pull enough exhaust within the machine, and eventually it can lead to steam escaping from our cleaning system itself. So that's very important to make sure we're maintaining our exhaust filters. Electrical enclosures. So these would have, in many cases, they'll have filters on them or fans on those, actually, with the filter as part of the system to draw heat out of the electrical enclosure, electrical box, to prolong the efficiency and life of the components within the electrical panel itself. So, if those filters become clogged, it limits the ability for the heat to be dissipated from the electrical enclosure, and that can impact the performance and or longevity of our electrical components. And then, of course, we have intake strainers on our wash rinse pumps, blowers. We can have catch screens that capture gross contaminants prior to getting it back into the washer rinse tank. Those should be checked. We can also have bag or cartridge filters within our system. So, there's many different places where we might find filters and strainers and catch screens. But again, just follow the instructions from our supplier in terms of, their location, when and how we should either service them or replace those components. Um, you know, General maintenance, right? And again, general maintenance. We do general maintenance on our vehicles. We do maintenance on our homes. And as part of general maintenance, cleaning plays a very important role, right? We clean our vehicles. It's no different in this regard. We're doing cleaning operations on the equipment itself, and as part of general maintenance. And when we do this in conjunction with the other aspects of general maintenance, we ensure that we maximize the lifespan of the equipment. We ensure that we maximize the performance and efficiency of that equipment set, and we maximize the uptime of our equipment. So those are very, very important. And then lastly, but not leastly, we ensure worker or a safe work environment for our employees. So all of these together really do tell a story how it's important to do the cleaning operations and how it plays an important role in terms of general maintenance with our systems. So we'll end with some frequently asked questions. First, how do I know when to change a filter or strainer? Well, like I say, follow the instructions from our equipment supplier. Obviously, inspections a part of it, or visual inspections a part of it. This can be done off of timers or run time on the equipment. In some cases, you might have a pressure gauge pre and post filter, for example, let's say a bag or cartridge filter, and there might be a pressure gauge on the upstream and downstream side of that pressure gauge, that filter. So as that filter were to become clogged, you would be able to detect or see a change in pressure from the pre and post filter, and that can be indicative of when a change is required. Won't pressure gauges on the machine let me know if I have a clogged nozzle or manifold? So a great question, and unfortunately, in most cases, no, it will not. In fact, it may actually give you a false false feeling for security. So think about pressure gauge sits between the pump and the spray manifold, so in between that line. So if I have a clogged nozzle or clogged nozzles and manifolds, the pressure actually stays the same or increases. It doesn't decrease. So in most cases, it's going to stay the same or increase. So if I look at a pressure gauge when I have clogged nozzles and manifolds, I feel great, but I might not have any flow. So I'm potentially having zero cleaning or very little cleaning going on. But the manifold or the pressure gauge tells me otherwise. So it can give us a false indicator. In an ideal situation, we might have a pressure gauge and a flow meter or flow sensor together that can be very helpful and very useful. Last question, are there any intangible benefits that are linked to cleaning the cleaner? That's a great question. So, going back to the ensuring maximize life and efficiency and so on, in addition to those benefits, yes, I would say this. If you have a clean piece of equipment, just like if you have a clean manufacturing floor, everything in its place, it's well lit manufacturing floor, and all of the equipment is well serviced and maintained. We don't have water leaks. We don't have exhaust leaks when we're talking about our inline cleaner, for example, or batch cleaner. It shows very well. So imagine your sales team bringing a prospective customer in to see your manufacturing floor, and they see a well-lit environment, a clean production floor, and they see then a piece of cleaning equipment that is well serviced and maintained. It doesn't have leaks, it doesn't have exhaust leaks, doesn't have water leaks. That gives them an advantage over going into a competitive floor that might be dimly lit, a lot of clutter on the floor, and then they walk over to the cleaning system and they see water leaks, they see steam leaks, they see scale buildup on the windows, right, or so on. So so yes, cleaning the cleaner can have an intangible benefit that can lead to increased business within your operation. So yes, that I would say the answer to the question is yes. So with that, I want to say thank you all for taking the time, and William, I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks, Rich. Thank you guys for watching this Tech to Tech session. If you would like to discuss this topic further or have any questions not answered in the session, please contact your local KYZEN regional manager or send an email to tech@KYZEN.com, and we will have someone follow up with you as soon as possible. And if you like this video, be sure to follow us on our social media platforms for more expert cleaning content.